Islam Makhachev is seen training intensely as he prepares for his upcoming welterweight title fight against Jack Della Maddalena. However, Navajo Sterling shared his opinion on a potential fight between Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena, JDM. He believes JDM would dominate Islam, saying the match would be so one-sided that any hype around a future fight between Islam and Ilia Topuria would disappear. Sterling pointed out that JDM's size and striking ability, especially at mid-range, would make it hard for Islam to shoot for takedowns. He also noted that Islam wouldn't be able to rely on his size advantage like he has with some of his other opponents.
You picked JDM to win. Now he's got a big challenge in his first title defense against Islam. Do you think he's got what it takes to beat an Islam Makhachev in his first defense?
People are going to say it's a wild take, but I reckon JDM smokes Islam. Shins him so bad. It's going to be so bad that the Topuria Islam thing will just be gone.
So you think Islam's wrestling won't be a threat to JDM just because he's a lot bigger?
He's a lot bigger, and like when you watch JDM, like you put him on the end of mid-range, he's just going to throw. That's hard to like shoot in on. He's not going to be able to just abuse his size against him either. I think Islam's in for a rude awakening.
Islam is training hard, staying focused and disciplined as always. He's sharpening his wrestling, refining his striking, and preparing for every possible scenario in the cage. But against someone like Jack Della Maddalena, the challenge could be different. JDM's size, striking precision, and ability to control range make him a tough puzzle to solve. His mid-range pressure and timing can make it difficult for opponents to shoot in for takedowns. Even with top-level preparation, Islam might find it hard to impose his usual game plan if he can't get close or control the pace of the fight. Islam has been putting in the work, training with intensity and focus. He's fine-tuning his wrestling, sharpening his stand-up, and covering every angle to stay ahead. But facing someone like Jack Della Maddalena brings a different kind of test. JDM's size, sharp striking, and ability to manage distance could pose serious problems. His pressure from mid-range and quick hands make it tough for opponents to time their entries. Even with all the preparation, Islam could struggle to apply his usual strategy if he can't close the gap or dictate the rhythm of the fight.
Definitely, but like I said, it is hard to try to get like an accurate gauge on what it's going to look like, not knowing how Islam is going to look when he moves up. Okay, it's always the question everybody asks when anybody is moving up a weight division or down a weight division. Okay, there's so many unknowns involved. But saying that, I think that Islam can do everything that Belal does, but way better. Okay, way better.
Dan Hardy weighed in on Jack Della Maddalena's future in the welterweight division, acknowledging his strong skill set but questioning if he can truly take over as the competition continues to rise. He was impressed with Jack's showing against Belal Muhammad, yet remained doubtful about how Islam Makhachev would perform if he moved up to 170 pounds. While Hardy respects what Islam has achieved at lightweight, he's not convinced that success would carry over against someone like Della Maddalena. He pointed out the potential challenges Islam might face at welterweight, especially when it comes to dealing with bigger opponents and maintaining pace and endurance over 5 hard rounds.
I think Della Maddalena's got a bright future. I don't know whether he's going to hold the belt or, he's going to lose it to another one of the top contenders and then pick it back up again. I don't think he's going to lose it to Makhachev though. I think Makhachev holds the lightweight belt against anybody in the world, on any day, including Ilia Topuria. I don't think if he moved up, he would have much success against Makhachev. But Della Maddalena looked very, very sharp against Belal. And I wonder what Makhachev would look like as a welterweight, whether he would look as strong and as lean or whether he would look heavier and, potentially gas himself out because he'd be stepping straight into a 5-round fight, wouldn't he?
Islam has been pushing himself harder than ever in training, fully aware of the level of competition waiting for him. His sessions are intense, combining relentless wrestling drills, striking refinement, and high-level sparring to stay sharp in every area. Surrounded by top coaches and elite training partners, he's leaving no stone unturned. Islam knows that facing someone as dynamic as Jack Della Maddalena will demand more than just skill. It'll require precision, patience, and relentless pressure. Every day in the gym, he's working to make sure he's ready for whatever comes his way. Daniel Cormier called a potential clash between Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev a thrilling, high-stakes showdown with a lot on the line. He noted that if Jack keeps up his current momentum, the matchup becomes even more compelling, especially with the added intrigue of Islam stepping into a new division. Although Cormier praised Islam's strength and grappling, he questioned how well that would translate against someone with Jack's size and build. He pointed to reports of Islam slimming down for a possible fight during International Fight Week, which raised doubts about whether he'd have enough time to bulk up properly and adapt to the physical demands of fighting at welterweight.
They're gonna watch regardless. It's a fantastic fight. It's a big-time fight. And if Jack Della looks the way he did last weekend, it's very, very intriguing fight, because we've never seen Islam Makhachev fight up at 170 pounds. We've never seen it. We've never seen him have to compete up 15 more pounds. Yes, he is a big dude, but in terms of full-on stature, is he big as Jack Della Maddalena is? And also, if he thought he may fight International Fight Week, how small had he gotten? And how much time does he have to put the weight back on the right way before he moves up to 170?
Cormier also highlighted that the appeal of the fight goes beyond just technique. It's the storyline that really draws people in. With Jack Della Maddalena newly crowned as the welterweight champion after a hard-fought win over Belal Muhammad, he's now facing a challenge from Islam Makhachev, a dominant champion stepping up from a lighter division. Cormier emphasized that this kind of setup naturally builds anticipation, packed with drama and uncertainty. While tactical breakdowns will come later, he believes it's the narrative, the clash of champions, the weight jump, and the stakes involved that makes this potential matchup so compelling right now.
A lot of questions, but it's a big time fight, and we'll get into the X's and O's as we get closer. But right now we're talking the story. We're talking about a guy that just beat Belal Muhammad to become champion, now getting challenged by a 155-pound champion.
A footage of Islam Makhachev training has surfaced, showing him intensely focused on wrestling his signature weapon. He's drilling takedowns with precision, working on chain wrestling, and testing his strength against heavier partners to simulate the size difference he'd face at welterweight. The sessions reflect a clear intention to adapt his grappling heavy style for bigger opponents without sacrificing speed or control. Seeing Islam in this mode has reignited confidence among his supporters, reminding everyone that while he may be moving up in weight, his wrestling remains world-class and could still be the deciding factor in any matchup. MMA analyst Luke Thomas praised Jack Della Maddalena for his impressive striking in his recent fight, noting that Jack really stood out even though Belal Muhammad also performed well. However, Thomas also pointed out some weaknesses in Jack's game, including gaps in his defense and risky takedown attempts that could leave him vulnerable. He warned that these flaws might be costly against a fighter like Islam Makhachev, who is known for his precision, control, and ability to capitalize on even the smallest mistakes.
I really think that, you knew the striking prowess of JDM, if he could just have enough time to get it going, would be enough. I think Muhammad somewhat overperformed relative to expectations, but in the end, JDM was better. But the defensive lapses, to me, I know we have to focus on like how good JDM is as a striker, but what could have cost him here was the incompleteness of his defense. And to me, he took a quantum leap forward today in showing how good that was. Now, again, trying to turn that defense into offense by trying to go for some of those ill-advised takedowns, especially in the fifth, and then you're getting kind of lateral dropped for it. You do that against Islam, and I think that's a huge mistake. Islam just doesn't make a lot of mistakes, right? He doesn't necessarily have, at times, always the flashiest offense. I mean, he does have very good offense. We're talking about the pound-for-pound number one guy in the sport. But what really defines him is that he makes very, very good decisions.
Thomas also shared his enthusiasm about Islam Makhachev moving up to welterweight. While he agreed that a matchup between Makhachev and Ilia Topuria would be thrilling, he was even more curious to see how Islam would perform at 170 pounds. Thomas acknowledged that the transition might not be easy and success isn't guaranteed, but he emphasized the huge opportunity it presents for Islam to capture a second title and solidify his legacy as a two-division champion.
I have to tell you, Islam up at 170 to me is exciting. I know what everyone's going to say. Oh my God, oh my God, the best fight you could have made in MMA was Ilya versus Islam. I'm not denying it. I'm not in any way asking you to feel differently about what was the best fight that could be made. But here's what I am trying to tell you. Islam up at 170 could be something really special. It could fizzle too, but I'm trying to point out the positives. It could be really special. For him to become a double champ could be a very big deal.
Thomas explained that although Islam Makhachev is expected to face Jack Della Maddalena next, a future fight with Ilia Topuria is still possible. He noted that even if Islam loses a close battle at welterweight, he could move back down to lightweight and take on Topuria later. Thomas expressed genuine excitement about Islam moving up to 170 pounds, saying it could offer fans something special, especially if Islam chooses to stay in the division beyond just one fight. He also pointed out that Makhachev has earned the right to pursue a second title, highlighting his willingness to take big risks, like facing Alexander Volkanovski twice, as proof of his determination to challenge the toughest opponents.
Makhachev and JDM next doesn't mean you actually can't get Makhachev and Ilya at some point. It could be he goes up against JDM and maybe he doesn't get his ass kicked, but maybe he just kind of loses and you're like, oh, all right. Then you go back to 55 and you can see what's up after that. So it's not even a case that you can't get it. But my point is, Islam at 170, if he gives us 3 or maybe even 4 of those, is a treat as far as I'm concerned. Like him vying for double champ status, he's earned it. He gave Volkanovski 2 cracks. He accepted one of those on short notice, and I know it was like shorter notice for Volkanovski, but you know, nevertheless, accepting to fight Alexander Volkanovski on very, very short notice is still risky no matter who you are and no matter how much prep. And he gave him both of those. He did one of those fights in Volkanovski's home country. He's earned it.
Stephen Thompson shared his views on the challenges Islam Makhachev could encounter moving up to welterweight. He acknowledged Islam's natural strength, but highlighted that many welterweights cut weight from over 205 pounds, meaning the size and power difference could pose a serious challenge. Thompson noted that while Jack Della Maddalena might not be much taller than Islam, the overall strength and physicality of the welterweight division are on another level. He praised Islam's elite grappling, but pointed out that Jack has already taken on tough wrestlers like Bilal Muhammad. Thompson said the fight wouldn't be easy for Islam, but expressed strong interest in the matchup and hopes the UFC makes it happen.
I don't know, man. I mean, when you're going up to the welterweight division, those are some big boys. And I know Islam Makhachev walks around fairly heavy, but a lot of these 170s, they walk around real heavy. Over 205, 210 to the 215. Some of the guys that I have faced would walk around at that weight. I think like the height, I think they might be the same height. I think JD might be a little taller, but when it comes to those guys and their strength, Islam, I think, is going to have a tough time. Now, do I think he could get it done? Yes. I think he's that good of a grappler. But like I said, JDM has faced some of the best welterweight grapplers and wrestlers in the division. Islam, Bilal being one of them. I think it's going to be a tough night for him. I would like to see Islam fight Topuria. That's just me. I would love to see that fight happen. But if he comes up, we'll see what the UFC gets behind. And we all know you got to convince the UFC to make it happen. And you do that first by getting on Twitter, shouting it out, and get people talking about it. And that's what Islam did. So we'll see if that fight happens with JDM.
Ali Abdelaziz confirmed that Islam Makhachev will be fighting for the official welterweight title this year, not an interim belt. He explained that Jack Della Maddalena is the current champion, but if Jack is unable to compete, another fighter will step in to face Islam for the vacant title. Abdelaziz said the UFC, including Dana White and Hunter Campbell, has already approved this plan. One important condition for Islam's move up is that if Jack gets injured, the belt would be vacated. While Abdelaziz hopes Jack stays healthy, he made it clear that the UFC is ready to proceed with the title fight regardless.
When will it happen, Islam and Jack?
Islam fighting for the title this year. The non-interim title. Jack Maddalena is the champion, but if Jack is not available, it will be someone else fighting Islam for the title. That's what the UFC told me. That's what Dana told me. That's what Hunters, everybody said. And that was one of the stipulations. If Islam go up, Jack get injured, and I hope he's healthy, and he seemed like he's healthy, this title will be vacated and Islam will fight for welterweight.
Javier Mendez said it's hard to say if Jack Della Maddalena would be Islam Makhachev's toughest challenge, but he emphasized that Islam wants the fight and is fully ready for it. He praised Islam's skills and relentless work ethic, noting that Makhachev operates on a different level compared to anyone Jack has faced so far. Mendez added that if the fight takes place, fans can expect to see Islam perform at his very best. He also mentioned that moving up to welterweight fits Islam well physically, as he won't be undersized and will be a strong, serious competitor in the division.
You know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say if he's a harder challenge. You know, I just know Islam wants this one. So for me, that's the challenge I want, you know, and it's the challenge that I know Islam's going to be, you know, supreme over, because I just know his skill set. I know what he brings to the table, and he brings an incredible work ethic along with skill set in every area. So, you know, Islam is a whole different animal than the Jack's ever been involved with. So if that fight does materialize, you know, we're going to see a hell of a fight, and you're going to see Islam perform at an absolute incredible level. And also, you know, the weight is not super big for him either, so he's going to be a fairly decent welterweight. So Islam won't be a small guy. He'll be a decent welterweight if that fight materializes.
Henry Cejudo predicted that Islam Makhachev would defeat Jack Della Maddalena and become a 2-division UFC champion, calling it a natural step in building Islam's legacy. On the other hand, Kamaru Usman showed his support for Jack, praising his calmness in the cage and expressing confidence that Jack has what it takes to defend his welterweight title successfully. Both Cejudo and Usman agreed the fight will likely happen in October in Abu Dhabi, meaning any potential matchup between Makhachev and Ilia Topuria is currently on hold.
I think Islam Makhachev is going to beat him. I think he's going to become the 11th double champ in UFC history.
Islam tweeted, "Keep it shiny, keep it nice for me." JDM, I mean, it was kind of like the perfect comeback. He was just like, yeah, come get it.
Keep my belt clean. Okay, so the has begun, dude. That fight is set. That fight's going to take place in October, Abu Dhabi. I think we all know that. We're no longer going to get Ilia versus Islam Makhachev just now.
Gilbert Burns showed his support for Islam Makhachev, moving up to welterweight, believing that 170 pounds suits him better since making 155 has been a struggle for Islam. He praised Makhachev as the top pound-for-pound fighter, but warned that a fight against Jack Della Maddalena would likely be closer than many expect. Burns mentioned that Jack has been training with elite fighters like Alexander Volkanovski and Craig Jones, which has helped him gain important experience and insight. While Burns hasn't fully analyzed the matchup yet, he thinks it would be a very competitive and exciting fight.
Islam is working very hard. He's been saying vocal that he wants to go up to 170. I think he's a big boy. He killed himself to make 55. I think that's the right division for Islam. He just tweeted something after the fight that he'll not vacate the title, and then he vacated the title. I don't know, but probably that was in the negotiation. Yeah, I like him moving up. I proving himself. He's #1 pound for pound right now. It's a good fight. Jack and Islam closer than people think, especially with Jack Della Maddalena doing a lot of training with Volk, with Craig Jones, those guys that kind of back the Islam on that first Volk fight. I think they're gonna have a lot of info, a lot of study, a lot of answers. It's closer than people think, this fight. I really like this fight. I don't have time right now. I didn't have time to dig deep a little too much in that fight, but I think it's way closer than people think. And JDM has a clear shot on beating.
That's it for today's video. So what are your thoughts on this? What do you think about the matchup? We would love to hear your thoughts. So share your thoughts in the comment section and make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video. Also check out our other videos on the screen, right?